This is 1701 through 1709 Concord Pike in Wilmington, Delaware. This is the intersection of Murphy Road and Concord Pike. We referred to 1701 through 1705 as the Triplex. These are separately owned but attached buildings with storefronts on the first floor and two-bedroom apartments on the second floor. These were originally built in 1946. Please note that there's a 20-foot state right-of-way between the edge of Concord Pike and the beginning of our parking lot. The deeds for 1701 through 1705 established two common areas for the triplex. The first, common area number 1, shaded in orange, is for parking and driveway purposes per deed. Originally there were 6 parking spaces, 2 per store, but over the years they have been condensed and we now have 7 parking spaces. Common area number 2, shaded in blue, is the driveway that runs along the side of the triplex and the area behind the triplex. Per deed, this area is for driveway purposes only. It was to keep the driveway open and the area behind the triplex open for delivery trucks in 1946. The commercial stores in the triplex were originally intended to serve the residential homes behind the triplex in Deerhurst. 1705 was a grocery store, 1703 was a pharmacy, and 1701 was a liquor store. All 3 stores have rear entrances and basement doors for deliveries and storage. This is 1707 Concord Pike. The existing 731 square foot building was built in 1962, 16 years after the triplex was built. 1707 was built by Concord Development Company, which was the company that built all the residential homes in Deerhurst as well as the triplex. Concord Development Company used 1707 as their office until 1980 when they sold it. It is very important to note that the 1707 deed does not make any mention of the common areas on the triplex, nor do the common areas of the triplex include any part of the 1707 parcel. In 2011, the owner of 1707 installed a garage door on the front of the building, turning what had been an office for the last 49 years into an automobile service center. This change in use requires the property to satisfy all code requirements in Newcastle County, including parking. The new auto service use requires 4 UDC-compliant parking spaces. Newcastle County Code requires that all parking spaces be 9 foot wide by 18 feet deep. You can see from this attached survey that there's no way to fit a 9 foot by 18 foot parking space in the rear of the 1707 parcel. Nor can you fit more than 1 in front of the building. 2 side-by-side 9 foot by 18 foot parking spaces would not fit. In August of 2011, the owner of 1707 was cited for using an unlicensed contractor and not having a permit to install his new sign. He was also cited for not having a change of use permit, which states any change in use must comply with the provisions of Chapter 40, which is the UDC, of the Newcastle County Code. On December 1, 2011, we received an email from Newcastle County stating that 1707 could not use their building due to the absence of 4 striped and functional parking spaces necessary for final approval. It also states that he is required to get a permit for the new sign or terminate its use. Here's a copy of the December 12, 2011 letter that was sent to the 1707 property owner, instructing him to cover the sign until a permit was acquired. This was never done, and over a year later the sign continues to burn nightly. In April 2012, instead of fixing this problems with the county by getting a sign permit and going to the Newcastle County Board of Adjustment to get a parking variance to reduce the number of spaces required, the owner of 1707 sued the 3 owners of the triplex properties for the rights to park on their parking lot, as well as lost business revenue because they complained to the county about him. What's crazy is that there's only 7 parking spots on the triplex lot. It doesn't matter if 1707 has a right to park on that lot or not. If the triplex were not grandfathered in and had to meet county code requirements, it would require at least 15 parking spots for all the uses. The UDC is very clear about shared parking requirements, that the lot should be equal or greater than the sum of the parking spaces required for each building in use. In other words, with the auto detailing center, we would need at least 19 parking spaces, and we only have 7. And what's even crazier is while we're waiting for our court date in October, Newcastle County magically approves the change of use permit on July 27, 2012. Almost 8 months after we were told the 1707 building couldn't be used due to the lack of 4 parking spaces and the sign violation. At this point, in July of 2012, nothing had changed on the property in over a year. We have been trying to appeal the issuance of this change of use permit since August of 2012, but the Newcastle County Department of Land Use has been playing games, trying to hide the internal decision they made and not letting it see the public light. We most recently found out that the board we are trying to appeal to is now defunct since it does not have the required number of members to have a hearing. It may be months until a new member is selected and appointed to the board, but until then, continue to ask yourself, where will they park? And follow our website at www.wherewilltheypark.com.